Remember at the beginning I said that the inbuilt JavaScript alert function is a system object, meaning we can't change its layout. So then how do we get really cool JavaScript alert tabs showing up? Well, I'm not going to use plugins because this course is about teaching you JavaScript. And let's just create one. Let's create one ourselves with vanilla, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So as always, let's start with an HTML document and let's create a button. And now let's create an on-click function and let's say that alert me. And you can see on the right, we've got our little button here, click me. But of course, nothing happens when we click it. Now, before we get into the JavaScript, I actually want to create what the alert will look like. And how I like thinking of it is let's create a div tag that contains our entire alert. And then within that div tag, I just want to have a heading, say this is a warning message. And then I want a button that the user can click OK. So let's do that. Let's have a div tag and let's say have an ID of confirm. This is going to be the whole tag containing the alert. Then I want a heading. So let's have another div. And let's say that's just the message, the class message. This is a warning message. And then let's have a button. Let's just say class is yes. I don't know why. We can say anything. If I save that, it just looks like gobbledygoo on the web page. There's our message. There's our OK button. Again, does nothing. Now let's just, before we do JavaScript, now I just want to style this warning message quickly. And I know this is not good practice, but I'm just going to put the style in the head. I don't want to create external style sheets and all that now. We can just do it together quickly. So what should we do first? Well, let's do this entire div first. So this is just using our standard CSS styling techniques. I'm identifying the ID of confirm, and now we can style it together. Let's display it as a block. Let's put a background color of, I don't know, 58, 58, 58. There you go. Starting to see some results. Position fixed. Border. Let's do 2 pixels solid red. Just showing you kind of how this thing is being made up. Let's put this in the center. Let's make it a bit wider. It's a bit far to the right, so let's just push it left a little bit. Margin left. I know this is not the most ideal way to do things, but I'm just trying to get the job done to show you kind of how it works. And now let's just put some padding. And let's align the text to the center. There you go. So it's getting there. It's getting there. I can kind of feel the vibe. Let's now style this warning message. What did we call it? We called it message. Let's make it a white color so we can actually read it. And what else do we need? It needs margin. It looks terrible. Margin top, margin bottom. It should, yeah. It's not working. Margin top, margin bottom. See, it's starting to look much better. And then lastly, let's style this OK button because that looks terrible. So again, what did we call that? We called it a button. So we can just confirm, and then it's a button. What should we do with that? Let's do a background color. RGB. It's going to look hideous. So let's change this color. Maybe we do a nice red. Let's don't have exactly square borders. Doesn't look that nice, in my opinion. Just slightly rounded edges. Probably don't even see it, but it's a nice subtle improvement on design. We can now do a border. There you go, it's looking already a bit better. The margin bottom needs a bit of work. Margin bottom. There you go. And the other thing I want to show, when my mouse hovers over the OK, I want it to become a pointer. So just quickly, let's just do that. Cursor, pointer. Now when I hover over it, it becomes a pointer, so you know it's a button. Cool, eh? Let's make it a bit wider. Maybe a bit less. Let's just add some padding. Okay, so I say it's looking good. I say that's looking like, let me just pull this in a bit. I say that's looking like a nice alert tab, way better than the other pop-up that we saw. And you can design these things however you like. I've just done a really rough job. Now let's add JavaScript. Okay, let's add JavaScript. So let's go to the top. Remember, JavaScript has to be within script tags. And where should we put it? And where should we put it? Let's put it at the top here. Let's put it at the very top. Okay, script. Let's hide this whole confirmation warning box. So at the moment we've got display block. Let's just go display none. And we should see that disappear. But when we tick this button, we want to see it. Well, the first thing we need to do is we need to start creating a function for when this button's clicked. Right? If we look down, let me just scroll down again to the bottom of the code, you can see this button has a function that we've called alert me. We need to now define that function in JavaScript. Otherwise, nothing happens, which is what's happening here. So let's start defining a function called alert me. Function alert me. And what do we want to happen? Well, the first thing we want to happen is we want to display that alert message. And in order to do that, we've got to identify that whole div tag that has that whole alert, which we had with an ID of confirm. So let's call it confirm box for lack of a better word. Document, remember, that's your web page. JavaScript has an inbuilt method called getElementById. And we called the ID confirm. So now we've got it. Then the second thing we want to do is, you know, when that alert's open, there's that OK button. We want to identify that OK button, because when that OK button is clicked, we want that modal or that pop-up or that alert to disappear. So that's the second thing we want to do. Let OK button equal document get element by class name. And what class name did we call that again? We called it yes. Now, if we just left it at this, it's actually going to return, when you find an element by class name, it returns what's called a node list. And that's almost like an array-like object. So this isn't quite enough. We've just got to access the first element of that array, which is what that is doing there. Now that we have this OK button, what we want to do is we want to define an on-click event, that when the user clicks on that OK button, that whole dialog box disappears. So let's do that. And let me add comments here. Remember, we went through comments. This is the button within the alert modal. And now we want hide the alert modal when button is clicked. So let's do that. So let's add an event listener on click. So, OK button, on click. And here we have to define the function again. But let's do it all in one step. And you'll see later we actually don't have to write out this big keyword. There's a shorter way to do it, which is new syntax. I'll teach you that later. I just want you to understand what it is we're doing here. Then another inbuilt method within the browsers and JavaScript and the DOM is set attribute. You can literally change attributes on different elements in your page. So let's grab that confirm box, which we've defined above, and we can set an attribute. And what attribute do we want to set? Well, remember we want it to be displayed now as none when that button is clicked. The attribute, we want to make the style as the first argument to this method. And the second one is what we want to change. And that is display to none. Simple, right? So now we've defined what happens with the button within the alert modal, but we haven't actually shown the modal anywhere. So we can't do anything with it. Well, let's just put it up here and say, show modal. We've got confirm box, set attribute. We want to affect the style, and we want display to be block. Should we give it a go? Should we test our code? See if it works. Let's click the button. What's gone wrong here? Alert me. Why is this not working when I go click? Alert me. So something we can check is if we console log here, we can log hi. Let's just see if the click event is working. Let's just go to the console and let's click the button. You can see nothing's happening. So obviously this alert me function is not being called. Question is why? So let's hold on here. On click alert me. On lick. It should be on click. Let's check if that works now. Click me. And there's our hi and there's our warning. Okay, great. So let me hide that. Let me delete that. Refresh the page. When I click, it comes up. We've identified this OK button. So when I click OK, it's going to execute this function, which says I want to set the attribute to display none. And it disappears. So this is really an example of how we've created an alert from scratch, from literally scratch, some HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript, and we've literally created our own custom designed alert. This is awesome, and this is going to set you on the path to being an awesome coder. Let's continue.